Hi, everybody. This is Brett with a market recap. Today is Friday, June 30th here, coming into the end of the month. Just want to give you guys a heads up on what's been happening in the markets and what we're seeing here. So over on the screen, have a screen of the daily DXY here. We've been kind of following this map a bit. Did come down and retest these areas right around 102, bounce off of it. I was wondering if we break down below that and down into sort of a crypto rally zone area. But it's been pushing up here as Bitcoin stalled out. Now we are hitting resistance and long standing resistance level on the DXY. So if I zoom out a bit, just had an alert pop up there, and this this line here on the DXY from these tops all the way down through this area, so may hit some resistance here, and if not here, right above there, about 103.65, I would imagine we do roll over on the DXY, and I'm hopeful. I think we do push higher here on Bitcoin. Some people are a lot of shorts lining up. Think we roll over. It really remains to be seen. So that's what I'm seeing on the DXY. On the monthly chart here, you can ignore this. This is a screenshot, not a real candle. But a couple weeks ago, we were in the red on this monthly candle of Bitcoin. And so I actually was looking at this and saying to people that this could easily turn around. And if this turns back to green and we have a bullish engulfing candle on the monthly, very bullish, I'd like to see this close more toward the top of this candle. And this is, again, a screenshot, but this is a much more bullish candle we call the rocket. Rocket on the launch pad. So if you think of it as sort of like a bottle rocket, this is the rocket fuel, this is the fuse, and typically these happen on support levels. So as we can see now that that it did bounce higher, this is a support zone right here around on the monthly basis, right around 27.2. And so you know, this is a very bullish sign. I think it's more than likely we go higher into July. I think July is an up month, despite what other people are saying and speculating. So we'll see what happens. Also on our trend strength indicator, breaking up out of this zone here, and also bullish on the monthly time frame. This is one of our indicators that's called every market cycle low, along with our early reversal indicators. So when this goes red to green, this is always called the market cycle bottoms. There's only been 4 of them, 3 prior ones. And again, disregard that candle is not really a real candle there. It was just an example. But when our ERI coincides with this TSI going green, this was the cycle low and here and here. So I do think that we've certainly put in the bottom and are heading higher. If we do pull back down, we'll have to see, but this is a bullish candle here on the monthly basis, and I would expect some follow through. Really what we're looking for is a break and hold above the 32,000 level. You know, I'd like to see us at least get up around above 31,000. 32K though is that high right in this area here, which has been a key level, 31,785. So if we can get up above that area, very bullish here, probably something like this. Let me get my my pen out here, a brush rather, up here, and retest this and then head higher. So that's what I'll be looking for, and we'll keep an eye on that. All right, so let's see, you know, we'll want to see both how the month closes, which of course the last day of the month is today. So, and then we'll have our first weekly kind of close this Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Also on the monthly MACD, you know, getting really close, almost right there where it could go green. And typically, you know, that will at least have some follow through. You know, we had a little bit of a, not much of a follow through here, not as much back in the prior cycle, but it did, you know, for 6 months or so, it did go bullish, but kind of sideways for a bit before it really took off. And again, 2024, the halvings coming up next year. So this will take a little while, but I think we're going to see some bullish action here. And on a weekly basis, we can see how we could easily get to 48K, 50K on the Fibonacci golden pocket retracement. Here is this path this is pure speculation, by the way. This is not a likely scenario, but I had put this up here on May 6th, a path to $100,000 Bitcoin and the ways that could happen theoretically. This is a fractal overlay of the price pattern in this zone here, and we're seeing this play out fairly closely. So it's pulled back to sort of this support if we project out this red moving average. So if we see some explosive action here, you know, this could certainly push up here to the old highs in the coming weeks here. This is a weekly chart, so we'll see. But as you can see on the Fibonacci projections, if these 3 things were to happen, It's becoming less and less likely, but there's a lot of arguments toward the other things pushing Bitcoin higher. Now, my criteria were hyperinflation, de-dollarization. We're sort of seeing de-dollarization, countries getting out of the dollar, paying for energy, not using the dollar. The BRICS countries, QE money printing to pay down the debt. We sort of kicked the can down the field till next year after the elections with that one. Bank failures, bank runs, transfers into BTC. These may not be the real drivers, but Michael Saylor had a very interesting video where he said that the Turkey currency crisis could be easily solved if they just went all in Bitcoin, and then it would virtually force all these other countries to follow. So very interesting. In Bitcoin and crypto, the most unlikely scenario usually happens, or what causes the most pain to the most amount of people. And the shorts may be lining up and maybe in for some pain here in that regard. Here's a weekly chart of Bitcoin. Again, at the nearer term from the market cycle high to the low here. If we just draw this, that fib here from the former high here down to the low puts us as a likely retracement. Again, if we can get above the 32K zone, this support level right in here, and I'll just draw that a little bit thicker so that you guys can see it. This support level right in there around 32K. We'll make that thicker so you can see it. If we can get above that, or maybe, I do think more than likely we pull back a little bit first and then power through that. That's what I think we're seeing Bitcoin top out on the daily basis. So if we pull back in here into the 29,000 range, Bitcoin is in an upward trending channel, as we can see. And again, if it can get above that 32K, there's not a whole lot of resistance. There's some resistance here around 36,500. So certainly that could pull back. But once we're above that, the next levels are this 42K and then all the way up to 48K, that Fibonacci golden pocket. So, and then, of course, probably some profit-taking pullback and then higher if we continue higher. We just don't know in these markets, but this is kind of what I'm seeing, and we'll keep an eye on that and keep you updated. Ethereum is, looking a little bit topped out here, really still trying to break back above this 1930, 1950 level, really 1930, looking overbought on the daily basis there, but in a nice upward trend channel that's holding and is intact. So, you could argue there's a bit of a wedge forming here, and at some point this is going to either break out or break down. So you could draw it this way too, but I'm encouraged that this rebounded. We had a fake out breakdown on this upward trending channel, a lot of fake outs in these markets. But we did have our indicators told us this was going back up here as this red turned to green on the TSI and our early reversal indicators. So we had some clues on that. We are having a bearish signal here on ETH, the bearish ERI, TSI. Essentially, these are oscillators that tell us it's overbought conditions. So again, I think, we pull back in the markets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, but so this will, probably kind of a quiet weekend into next week. And then maybe we see some kind of a push higher like we saw, or I drew, with Bitcoin, trying to talk and move charts around and indicators at the same time. So this kind of scenario, I think, is more than likely, but I am still bullish on ETH and Bitcoin based on what I'm seeing. All right, just moving along here on another chart on Bitcoin on the daily, and showing again it's overbought here, so running into resistance at this $31,000 level. And likely some kind of a pullback here, I think, is warranted down to near the 21 and 50-day moving average, getting a doji on the daily candle. As of now, we were pushing up above here last night, and I posted in one of our chat groups that potentially Bitcoin is breaking above, trying to break out. But I said, but we have to see where we close the daily candle and the monthly candle tomorrow. And sure enough, it's sold off here. So really important that you want to wait till a daily close or whatever time frame you're trading these markets, especially after hours and weekends, kind of get manipulated. And you can get tricked and fooled into a false move. So we see this here. I do think this comes down with this doji candle that has starting to lose its bullish status there from last night. So anyway, a similar chart there. Let's move on to, let's look at some other things and take a look at the overall market. So we looked at Bitcoin, looked at Ethereum. Let's see, Bitcoin dominance has been, talked about a lot lately. I've had this chart drawn for some time now. And certainly Bitcoin, the safest asset, money flowing into Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance rejecting a bit up here, which is interesting. So we'll kind of take a look at where money's flowing. Certainly think it's normal, warranted. It would pull back from this 52% level, because if we zoom out and take a wider look at this, let me just zoom out a bit. This has been a long-standing area of support and resistance on Bitcoin dominance. And so certainly that usually leads going into the market rallies. And so we're not quite there yet when we see Bitcoin back up above 52%. And I had an alert here, which did trigger. I'm going to set that again to see if we get back up above that 52% level. And then in here, we'll see what happens. Last time it kind of went sideways for a bit. So I think we do have more upside, and then maybe some sideways action into the end of the year. And then 2024 is where we're going to really see things play out and start picking up going into the halving. So that's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin dominance here. Certainly as we push higher, more money will flow into the safest asset, Bitcoin, and not, Ethereum. Big question mark is, even though they called it a security, even though they said it wasn't a security along with Bitcoin, that's when it was proof of work. Now, of course, they've changed to proof of stake. That throws into question the SEC's analysis. Is it a security or not? And I think we might see some rumblings about that. I don't know how that resolves. So personally, I have taken some of my ETH holdings out, and we'll be putting it into Bitcoin on the pullback. So not financial advice, but that's just what I am doing. All right, ETH dominance. So ETH dominance is kind of failing. It's been going sideways for a long time in this upward trending channel. I'll zoom out a bit here, not that, but the 5-day. So we saw this sort of downward trend in 2018 to 2020 on ETH, and then ETH really took off 2020 and into throughout last year. Well, 2022 just went sideways, but it's kind of breaking down here. I was wondering if ETH might lead the next market rally, but with the SEC crackdown and calling, these other coin securities, suing Binance, suing Coinbase, this likely is going to either continue sideways or roll over. Money, again, will go into the safest asset, which is Bitcoin. Let's see. So the question is, where is the money going? USDT dominance is still kind of a similar chart, and the money isn't going there. And Bitcoin dominance is down, and ETH dominance up marginally. So really hard to say. Maybe it's not going anywhere, and maybe it's just moving into some alts. So actually, if we look at the total market cap too, this is excluding Bitcoin, but again, marginally higher. And overall, this looks like it's heading lower. So if we look at the overall market cap here, fortunately, we're still above $1 trillion, which is bullish. This is sort of a nondescript pattern here. I was wondering if we didn't head lower when we broke down below $1 trillion, would we come down and form a right shoulder, potentially a head and shoulders pattern, which we could see a further drop. But so far, it's back above the 21 and 50-day moving average, exponential moving average, as we can see here. So that is bullish in and of itself. Question is, can it hold here? And just looking at our indicators, it's looking bullish on our trend strength indicator, but not by a lot. So we just need to see how things play out here next month. I do feel that July is going to be an up month, and we'll see what happens. So, pardon me. So let's see. We can look at we can look at the CME gap here. There's still a CME gap that's been unfilled. But let's see, where did that go? BTC dot D or BT, sorry, the BTC dot one, sorry, the CME futures. Yeah, so I was wondering if we would come down and fill this gap on a shorter time frame on the daily here. Sorry, I did have it on the 5-day for the total market cap, so I'll go back to that. But there's still technically is a CME gap here, right around 20,000, but it doesn't mean it has to fill. We're in an uptrending channel here, so if we were to draw this here on the CME futures, it'll be same as Bitcoin, right? So we have this nice uptrending channel. So I want to keep an eye on that and see what happens. Again, back to the total market cap on the daily. I just zoomed out a little bit, or zoomed in rather. Still above the 21 50-day moving average. Sometimes I'll go to a 2-day just to smooth things out a little bit. And so in an uptrend, we'll have to see how that plays out in the coming week. The only fireworks I think we'll see next week will be on July 4th. So have a happy and safe July 4th weekend, everybody. And that's about all I have to share with you. Not a whole lot happening in the markets. A couple of sectors I'd keep an eye on. However, the AI coins, there's some interesting movements and patterns setting up in the AI coins. So that entire sector, just kind of looking interesting, not quite strong enough. But the reason I mention it is regardless of current price, we saw throughout the AI coin industry sector there from the start of the year, saw some really nice movements in these. This is SDAO went up 800%. So these, many of these did early in the year. We caught on to a little bit late, but yeah, you want to keep an eye on those. And so the fact that we're back above the 21 and 50-day EMAs is a bullish sign, although I'd like to see it get a little higher, see a little bit more of that bullish pattern here. And again, one of my favorite indicators I alluded to a minute ago, this rocket indicator with a large real body and the fuse, if you'll call it this, the rocket fuel, and this is the fuse sitting at a support level, whether that's a moving average. I love it bouncing off the 21 and 50 EMA or a support zone. So that's the launch pad, very high probability pattern that I've recognized and coined the name. The rocket usually shoots up into the air, runs out of the rocket fuel, and then gradually comes down back down to earth. So, I'd love to see that setup here happening again. It has to be at a support level. So this doesn't really qualify. Back above that 21 and 50 days where we want to see it, and some volume to come back into. So that's just on some of these AI coins. So not a whole lot going on, some upward movement, but as long as these are below their 21 and 50-day EMAs, that's not a bullish signal. And again, the alts are not likely to lead. Bitcoin is going to likely lead, might have some outliers. We did have Litecoin with the big push up here, and that was the alert that just went off. So I do recommend having your alert set. If you're using TradingView, easy to do there. And so what's going on with Litecoin? Is there news? I didn't see any. Let's see, the hash rate hits all-time high. So that could be it. The halving countdown narrows. So that's why that's pushing higher. And so I'd keep an eye on Litecoin, actually, because what do we have? We have Litecoin breaking above this local high, previous support here, now resistance. So if it can close above this level, keep an eye on Litecoins for some follow through. And this is an unusual kind of push higher, but news driven. So again, if you want to keep an eye on that, the hash rate hitting an all-time high as the halving countdown narrows. I mean, this will push, the halving pushes these higher. Litecoin, of course, a hard fork on Bitcoin years and years ago. And so similar proof of work model. And, it also means that it'll be not considered a security, most likely, because it's proof of work. And but this may be kind of a pump on the news where I would be looking to exit this on this pump here. I like this. Actually, it's likely not going higher here today. I like the third standard deviation Bollinger Band as an excellent indicator of when price is exhausted. So your standard Bollinger Band is 2 standard deviations. So the default, I'd like to change it to 3 standard deviations for crypto. And as you can see, I'll open this up. That usually contains the price very closely. And these are some of the things that we teach in our active trader program. But so again, as it pushes up and at the top of the third standard deviation Bollinger Band, when it gets outside of it, likely comes back down. And as my friend Steve Nissan told me, usually when it touches or breaks one edge of the Bollinger, usually heads down to the other side, the other extreme, as we saw down through here. But specifically on the upside, people ask me all the time, when should I take profits? So now tomorrow could certainly push higher and up into this 140 region. It's sort of in price discovery zone in the sense that it hasn't been above the $100 level since, say, back a year ago. So, looking bullish there. This head and shoulders pattern that I thought may play out didn't play out. So we'll remove that, and that's good. So, and that was on Bitcoin as well. It had head and shoulders, but it also it did not play out. It stayed in this upward trend channel. So I think what we want to see on Litecoin, if today's closing candle can hold above $100, 102, I think likely we see some follow through here up into the $145 area and in the coming days, and then that should top out. But I have been liking this, and we've been watching this upward trending trend channel, and it's a slow, steady mover. I think Litecoin's a good one to have in your long-term holdings because of that, and certainly if we can get back above that $100 level. So anyway, thanks guys. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care.